Welcome back to Ford Friday. We're once again working on our 1965 Mustang rebuild project. If you're new here and need to get caught up, link's up there. Should answer pretty much any question you have up to this point. So let's see if today is the day we get our body to fit all the way down in our frame. First things first, it's time to shed a little weight. I don't think we're going to have any car seats in this Mustang ever again. In the pile. Our little custom bracket has been holding the cowl while we take everything apart to make sure it doesn't move. But unfortunately, it's going to be in the way. So I'm glad I made it removable. We're going to take it out for right now until we get the body on. Then after I put the body on, I'll be able to put it back in here just to make sure nothing is moved. This will keep everything in line so that when I put the heater box in, it's still going to fit the dash. If the cowl moves in or out, everything's not going to line up. So this will keep it back in place, and it's kind of like a temporary measuring system at this point. It should stay pretty much where it's at, so we're going to find out the hard way if I'm wrong.
Since our new frame rails are going to be so much narrower, these ears that used to be welded onto the back of our old frame rails are a little wide, so we're just going to cut them off. Same thing with the seat brace. Even with the rails cut out of the 65, this is still a little too wide, so we'll get rid of it. Now our rockers are a little bit too long. So in order to shorten them up a little bit so that we can slide the body all the way forward where we need it, we're going to have to take off about 2 inches.
Peanuts. A bunch of them in there.
So I wasn't sure if I was going to change that inner piece on the rocker here. Along with peanuts, there's also a lot of rust in there. I think there's no avoiding it. It's going to have to be changed. Passenger side was fine, but the left side, it's pretty bad. So we're going to have to change that piece.
Well, that settles it. This build is nuts. Dads will appreciate that one.
Now back to hacking off the end of the rocker on the right side. We need to remove the rear valance panel underneath the bumper. In order to get to the screws, I have to pull the license plate off. And it's just got a bunch of Phillips screws across the top. Missing a few. Then there's 2 nuts on the inside. The panel comes down.
Somebody's been here before.
Bondo. And a rear body panel that's not welded in. So now we're going to take the frame rails off the bottom of the floor section we left, because they're going to be in our way. We need this floor section to set right down on top of our other floor section from our 2015. We're just going to drill out our spot welds, 1/8 inch bit, then our 5/16. Then we can knock the bracket off for the jack, or spare tire. Not sure what goes there, maybe both. Neither now. Now we can knock off the spot welds. Pull that rail out.
Pile.
Somebody's been here before. That inner panel's a little smashed. I got some Bondo acting as seam sealer and possibly welds. It's not pretty. We're gonna have to change that. So now I'll draw out the spot welds on the driver's side. Cut our frame rail at the end. Break all the welds out. And pull that rail off.
So originally I was just going to cut the bottom of this to fit our floor. It needs to go up a little bit. The back is fine, but the front is too low. So instead of cutting it, I think I'm going to remove it. And the reason being is there's a lot of wasted space in here if I leave it the way it is. If I cut it out of there, I can use one piece of tubing in there, gain a lot more strength and a lot more space all at the same time. So I'm going to pull these plates off the side. I'll pull these two pieces, they're all welded together. I'll just take it off as an assembly if I can. We'll find out. Worst case scenario, I'll just take it apart in pieces. So I'll have to drill it out here. There's some seams on the back side, some seams over here, and it should all come out of there.
So we'll grind the seams off on the back side in the trunk. There's 3 of them. I'll slide the breaker in there. It's actually easier to get to the top part from the other side. Make sure it's separated. Now I'll do the other side. That's separated. Now we can drill our spot welds across the back. Drill the 1/8 inch holes. Then we'll drill the 5/16 holes. And we'll break all the welds loose. Every single one broke with just tapping on the piece. I got exceptionally lucky there. That was not going to be fun to try and break loose. Sometimes things work out. Rarely on this build, but sometimes. So now we can cut our seams on the side. They cut pretty easy. The discs just fit right down in between and cut them right off. Now we have to take off the little piece of floor that was left. We cut this out roughly with the air chisel before. So now we're just getting the rest of it off of there. Now the piece is ready to come out. Hopefully it doesn't fall on me. In the pile. Now I gotta remove the bumper brackets. They're gonna be in our way when we try to set the body down. There's 2 bolts, or 1, because somebody's been here before. That body panel's a little bit mangled. Looks like this thing has been rear-ended at one time.
So if my calculations are correct, this tape line should be where the 65 will end. If I am correct, I will be as shocked as you are. But I'm gonna have to change some of those parts in the back of the 65 that were mangled. I'm not sure exactly what, and I do want to build some kind of reinforcement back here to strengthen this up a little bit in the back. Kind of like a bumper inside, just to get a little more strength in case I want to back into some crowds.
So we're gonna drill the floor off first. We're concerned with where the rail ends. The floor doesn't really matter so much because we're gonna have another panel on top of it. For some reason, I'm still trying to keep it in the same spot.
pile.
Now we'll cut the driver's side.
The pile.
Lots of pieces for the pile today. So now we can take the bracket off that holds the reinforcement on the 2015. I'm going to grind it out from the inside and drill what welds I can. I don't want to put any holes in our frame rail. Then we'll just knock out our welds.
Ah, you're using the wrong hammer.
Is this the right hammer?
In the pile. Now we're going to cut some notches in here so that we can fold these pieces down and back. That way our new piece will slide down in there and we'll have a flange to weld our new piece on. If I just cut these off flat, I'm going to be trying to just weld a seam up. This will give us a little more strength. And if I really want to, I can still weld the seam.
So we'll cut our slices in there. Then we'll bend our pieces over. I didn't cut the bottom because our 1965 rear body panel is a little bit shorter and it won't go down that far. So now we're ready to see if it fits. Lift up our body. Roll our frame underneath it. I feel like I've done this before. Let's hope I don't have to do it again. Got the in-car camera. Lower the front end down. Now we gotta tilt the forks back. That moves the body towards the passenger side instead of trying to back the car up and turn it. Now we can roll the car back. Lower the front down a little more. So now we'll let the back half down. I just opened the valve on the engine hoist until it started going down. And I just let it go down real slow. Kind of like having two people. Of course, if I need to stop it quick, I guess I gotta run. So it just goes down. I line it up as it goes. Hopefully it fits. If anything gets snagged, I'll just stop, lift it up a little bit, move whatever I need to move, and then start letting it down again. So far, so good. Mr. Spotty's laying down on the job. Guess he's protesting our agreement from the last video. So now we need to move the body forward. It's down as far as it needs to go. Almost. But but it needs to go forward. You can see the gap in the wheel well. It's up against the tire. And now it's almost where it belongs. Move the driver's side forward.
How does it look from there?
And it's time to see how everything fits. Set the seat in there. And close the top. Pull the Dukes of Hazzard. You had to know that was coming. So you can take all the measurements you want, but when you're actually sitting in the car and everything's mocked up, you can tell a lot more. Sometimes things work out on paper, they don't work out in person. So this helps to visualize what the actual end product's going to look like. I can see how much headroom I have. The seats go pretty high, but they still fit. So now we're going to throw the fenders on, see how they line up. I'm going to have to get that cowl pan on there to find out exactly where our cowl should be, but this will give us a rough idea. Put the bolt in the bottom. There's a bolt in the center and the back. And it just kind of sits in there on top of the 2015 tower. We're going to have to make some braces to hold the fenders up. But first we got to get the body on. Bracing up the fenders is the easy part. Actually looking forward to that. So we finally made some progress. We now have a car that takes up one parking space instead of two. Well, unless you count the pile over there, but we can always put that outside. Our next step is going to be making our inner rockers, frame rails, that we cut out of our 1965, and narrowing our 15. So I'm going to narrow the 15, put those frame rails in and weld them on. That'll stiffen up our whole chassis. Then I'll be able to set the body down and line it all up. Now that's when I'm going to have to decide exactly where I want everything to fit. Right now it's pretty close, but I do have a little bit of the floor underneath the 2015 that does show. I don't really want to put side skirts on it, but I might have to. I can't go too much lower with the body because I'm going to run out of headroom and I'm going to run out of cowl room. So sacrifices might have to be made, but I can still move on with making my rockers. So that's what I'm going to do. Now for the bad news. I'm really busy with the builds that actually make me money, so I'm going to have to put this one on hold for a little while and get to those. But I promise I will get back to this. I actually have to because I need this all welded together before wintertime, because this building becomes storage for all of our toys that don't go out in the snow. So I need this thing done and out of the way so I can put all of our toys in here. So I will get back to it eventually. So like this video if you found it interesting, share it if you think somebody else might. Subscribe to see the rest of this build or whatever else I'm working on. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. So you guys were asking what happened to the Mustang rockers on eBay? Well, I didn't list them. I ran into a little trouble. It seems I swapped them both into the same pile, so I don't know which is which. So I'm going to have to sell them as a pair. Original 1965 Mustang inner rockers. Some rust, some assembly required. Sold as a pair only. Look for the listing. Welcome back to Ford Friday. We're once again working on our 1965 Mustang rebuild project. Wrong pile.